If you see my lips move a little weirdly throughout the video, that's because they're super chapped right now. I just applied the lip balm. It's so far it's like kind of relieving the pain, so forgive me if I look a little awkward. Anyways, I just watched Exit 8. It is a video game adaptation in which it's about a man called the Lost Man. He goes into a subway station hall, and as he turns to, like, after the second corner or so, it's the same hallway, and he's stuck in that loop. And basically, on the wall, he finds information on how to escape this loop. So if there are anomalies that appear, like anything out of the ordinary, so let's say in the first time he sees like the hallway, that's what it's supposed to look like. Let's say if he saw something like, the poster had a different color on it, or there's piss on the wall even though there shouldn't be, something like that. That would be considered an anomaly, even though it's like a small like change that still counts. He would have to turn back. If he kept going, it resets, and he has to succeed in identifying these anomalies, or successfully pass through or turn back a hallway 8 times to leave at exit 8. That is what the game is about, and the movie adapted that very well. I'm gonna be very clear with this with y'all right now. I did not play the game, so I don't know if some of the things that they did in this movie is either the same or different, but the overall premise is captured. Now, before I go into spoilers, I'm gonna praise this movie for what I really did like about this, in which this was a movie I liked more than Iron Lung, in which both of these movies are indie game adaptations, and it's a bit of a slow burn. Well, for this one, not really as much. There is a lot going on in the beginning as well, but just not as like climactic as like middle towards the end. But the one thing I really liked about this is the concept. I wasn't familiar with the game, and I was unsure what this movie was about. So when I watched it, the first 20 minutes, it really got me intrigued. It really got me wondering, oh, okay, so how is the anomalies going to play out? Like, how are they going to, trick our character here? Or, like, what will it do? Will it try and, be a hostile anomaly, or will it be passive? It appears in different forms and shapes that I do like. It doesn't make it feel like it's the same thing, even though it's literally in the same setting. The anomalies play in different ways, in which I thought was good, was interesting, because there were times when I thought an anomaly would kind of pounce or try and hurt our main character, but really there were moments where the anomalies are just being eerily disturbing and whatnot. I'm trying to not say too much without getting into spoilers yet, but I just enjoyed that concept very much, and I liked how it was portrayed in the film. Now, I'm sure that you see in the trailers here, there's a man who, so basically the whole what the hallway is supposed to look like is that there's a walking man coming across the corner. And if you notice in the trailer, the main character, the Lost Man, that's what he's called, he's walking down the hallway, and he keeps seeing that same man walking in the same direction. And I thought he was just gonna be just a dude just walking constantly. Nope. They actually kind of give him a little bit of some background lore that I will go too deep into yet. But I actually like that they didn't make him just an entity that's just there for the game, or that of what the Lost Man is forced to play. He's not just a walking dude. There is some lore to him, and this is someone you actually do care about. Now, I guess that was kind of a tiny bit of a spoiler. I apologize, but it's not. But that's not the biggest thing. There are other big things that happen, but I liked how there were some things that I thought would kind of stay the same, but it gets a little different as the story progresses. And I really enjoyed that, because I didn't want to just sit through and think, okay, he's gonna, he passed that hallway, and he didn't notice that was an anomaly. He noticed that was an anomaly, and then, see, they're it's I thought for that would be boring. But no, there are other things that are different, and there are ways in which the main character here, he is tricked by the anomalies, and I think it's really clever on how they do that. They basically kind of toy with them, make them think, although they are aware, he is aware, he's not stupid or anything, he is pretty aware that there are some things that are out of the blue, but because it's somewhat personal, he doesn't really remember that part or acknowledge it at the very least. So he, keeps going until he realizes, oh, it was an anomaly, and then he had to reset the progress, and then he had to start completely all over when he was almost done like completing the game. So I really liked that. I really liked how the anomalies weren't just like, oh, can you identify the difference kind of thing. There was some action done by this thing entity that appears to be the subway station. I'm assuming that's what it is. And the movie does get a bit emotional in like the middle towards the end, which I also do like. But now that I've kind of given the movie its praise and glory, I want to talk about my biggest complaint. Spoiler warning, big spoiler warning, big spoiler warning. So, the main character, the Lost Man. So, this is established very early in the film. He has asthma, and he has to use his albuterol inhaler to, for like, it's like a short-term relief, just to educate and clarify. It's a short-term relief for his asthma. And he has this constantly in like the first 20 minutes. And you could see like, oh, this is kind of to add more like stress and tension to it. And in the moment when he talks to an anomaly, because the anomaly was like a phone call from his ex who is now pregnant, and he had like an emotional like talk with her, but he didn't realize that was fake. And then it resets the whole thing up. He gets into a tantrum. He throws down his bag that has like his stuff along with his inhaler, and then he abandons the bag. And then you would think, oh, he's probably gonna have an asthma attack later on, and it's going to be pretty intense because he won't have the inhaler to save him. So what's going to happen? But that's not something that ever does get explored ever again, because for some reason his asthma is now like over. He no longer has asthma. He no longer needs his inhaler. Why? Like, why did you have that disappear? I don't get it. I guess the idea was just to have, added tension, because there are moments where he gets scared by an anomaly, and then he'll like be all clumsy and fall to the floor, and then he's like hyperventilating, but then he uses his inhaler. But then after the temper tantrum that he gets, he no longer uses the inhaler or no longer needs it. He doesn't have an asthma attack after that. I don't get it. That's just a weird decision to make, where you establish in the very beginning he has asthma. This might be utilized as like a plot device later on and how things progress, but nope, he's healed. He's completely recovered. It's almost as if he had to let out his emotions of resetting the game and being tricked by the anomaly, that his asthma is now just over. It's just gone. Like, I didn't really like that. Another complaint that I have is, like I mentioned, the Walking Man. He has a story, right? Turns out, for what we see with the Lost Man's perspective, he is just a walking character, just a walking being that he has to identify as like normal for the subway station like look. He is also stuck too, in which from his perspective, he has to get out as well. And he's walking with this boy who is also a main character, the boy, the Lost Boy or whatever. They're both stuck in the subway station, and he goes with him. The boy is completely mute when he's with him, and the boy is also pretty clever. He identifies anomalies in which the two main characters, like the Lost Man and the Walking Man, don't identify. So whenever he identifies an anomaly, he just stands there and just looks at it. Doesn't say a single word, doesn't even point at anything. He just stands there. And the Walking Man, he's pretty fleshed out, in which he has a son to get back to, and he's really desperate to leave this place. So when he thinks that the subway station looks normal, he doesn't think there's any anomalies. He thinks the boy is just being stupid. Like, what are you doing? Come on. And then he like grabs his hand and like forces the boy to go with him, even though the boy noticed that something was off because the door had the doorknob at the center. So, he keeps going. It resets. He gets mad and, throws a tantrum. And then he looks at the boy, and then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry for scaring you. The boy still doesn't say anything. The boy is just quiet and mute. And then as he keeps walking forward, moving forward, he then finds like the exit going upstairs, but it doesn't make sense because he lost. The whole progress is reset. That was the anomaly, but he failed to realize that. He's so desperate, he thinks that's the exit, so he leaves. And then the boy, he's like trying to pull him back, like, and he still doesn't say anything. And then the man's like, come on, what are you waiting for? This is it. This is the exit. Boy still doesn't say anything. And then the man is desperate. He lets him go. and then he runs to the exit and then supposedly dies. And my biggest complaint stemming out of that, now that I've given you that plot line, is that when the main character, the Lost Man, he finds this boy later after the Walking Man disappeared, and then as they both progress, there's a woman, a mysterious woman who is an anomaly. And then that boy suddenly talks and he's like screaming, "Mom, Mom." And then the man pulls him away and now the boy talks. Like, okay, like I thought he was mute. I thought he was like a shy boy who just didn't really trust him. Why did you not have him let him speak when he was with the Walking Man? Like, it just felt very unfair and very inconvenient. Like, hey, you know, we gotta give this main character an advantage, you know, because, you know, he's that I felt like him, the boy talking, was his plot armor. I don't know the decision in which they made the boy not speak at all until when he was with the main character. Why? Like, that just makes it a little weird. So, because the boy is also fleshed out too, he got lost on purpose and he's trying to find his mom. And he does identify the anomalies, and he does seem like he's trying to tell the man, you know, or like the Walking Man, hey, like, don't go. Why didn't he tell him, like, wait, with his freaking words, like, he can speak? Why did he not talk? It's really weird. It's just, I just thought that was stupid. And I also thought it was really annoying too. I just hate, maybe this is from personal experience, I hate kids who don't freaking speak, and then later on you learn that they can speak and that they just chose not to. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. Oh yeah, but like I mentioned earlier about the anomalies trying to be, you know, being like clever and like tricking you. So we learn from these characters that they've got their own story, that they utilize that as a way to trick them to like, you know, make them lose their progress. So for example, the Lost Man, our main character here, he has an ex who he's trying to get back to in the hospital and make a decision, you know, should we, you know, have this baby and, you know, step up to be a father. The anomaly pretends to be his ex, like, calling when it wasn't. Also, for the boy, pretends to be the mom in which he's desperately trying to go back to. And the anomaly pretending to be the exit for the Walking Man to, you know, leave and, you know, supposedly find a son. And that's like another thing. Before I get to the good thing about the anomaly. So, when the Walking Man disappears, he basically reappears in a form of that, like, entity that just keeps walking, like the Walking Man, right? So, he's supposed to be, when the Lost Man keeps walking, the Walking Man, sorry, there's no names for them, any of them. The Walking Man keeps going, and he's just part of the game now. There's a scene later on in which a tsunami comes as the anomaly, and it's like the most hostile anomaly by far. The Lost Man saves the boy, puts him on top of like a hanging exit, having him hold on, and then he gets swooshed away, but he's completely fine. Why? Like, that's just that was a plot armor that I realized. It didn't bother me too much. I get what they wanted to do, like, full circle for that character, but that was something that I noticed that bothered me. But going back to what I liked about the anomalies, there's another example in which the anomalies they're not only trying to ruin our character here or tricking them, one of them is played as a plot device in how the character evolves. So in the very beginning, he's like a very passive dude trying to avoid confrontation, trying to, like, you know, find an easy way out. And then, you know, and there was a mother with her baby crying in the train that he was in, and a guy was like yelling at her, and everyone else around ignores as he just constantly like berates the mother. And then the main character, he just tries to tune it out by listening to his music with his noise canceling. So one of the anomalies, there's like a door, he opens it, or it opens by itself, and then when he checks it, and this is where a lot of people have complained that that's like a stupid trope where a character will like open or like trying to explore something really dark when, you know, like, oh, like, that's really suspicious, why would you try and explore it, you're gonna get hurt. But that doesn't happen. Instead, what he sees is when he opens that door, he literally sees himself in that train. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering. He sees himself in that train, ignoring, you know, the mother and like the man who was like yelling at her, and it makes him very guilty. and that allows him to grow and develop, that he has to step up, that he has to, not avoid any more confrontations. And we see this as he does try and save the boy, more so than just saving his life. And that's not something I noticed originally, but because that's actually something that Moist Critical Pop brought up when he made his review. I noticed that. I want to give credit to him. That was something that he noticed, and I thought, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that was what happened. That was very well done. I liked how the anomaly played in a role where our character evolves. It is such a simple video game adaptation that I thought would just be like, pretty boring and simple. But they do character work and they do flesh out the people that we see in this film. And I really liked it. I really did. But as much as there was stuff that I didn't really like, there was a lot more to like about this film. The concept was very interesting, and I think it was executed more than I expected. Or better than I expected. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.